What a dynamic panel. Give it up again for this wonderful panel. As Alfonso said, it feels like we are moving the boulder up the hill, but I want to remind us that we are the ones that we are waiting for, and that the power to reclaim our opportunity and freedom is within this room. So, I am going to introduce our next panel. Our dynamic session will be a special conversation with a trailblazing leader led by journalist and TV host Errol Lewis, as well as the Vice President of Colombia, Francia Elena Marquez Mina. Please give it up for your next panelist.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody.
El number on the microphone.
Glad to be here. I'm Errol Lewis. I am the
¿Me dejas ver el número
political
del
anchor
micrófono?
at Spectrum News, and it is my pleasure to be here with you for a short while to talk with somebody who is both very important in her own country, but also an important voice for us to hear and to learn from. So let me welcome to the stage our Vice Presidente, Senora. Thank you. Señora Vicepresidente, estoy encantado y honrado de hablar contigo. Madam Vice President, let the interpreter get here. Madam Vice President, it is my pleasure to be here with you. Okay, protocol. I believe this is your first visit to the Global Black Economic Forum and your first visit to Essence Fest. Can you tell this audience and those who are watching on the live stream why you decided to come?
Bueno, quiero en primer lugar agradecer la invitación a participar en este importante foro para el mundo, el Foro Económico Global de la Gente Negra. Porque es importante estar aquí. Creo que es de gran importancia poder hacer intercambios.
Good start.
I gave you guys 2 shout-outs.
Yeah, no, dude, we good. And then I met your.
We've got some open keys here. We've got some open mics where there's a lot of. Okay. Let's begin. You are the first Afro-Latina vice president of Colombia, which made history. Tell us about your journey to becoming vice president. You began as an activist in a very troubled part of the country and dealt with a lot of environmental issues. What was the journey like from there to power?
Bueno, gracias. No quiero dejar de lado la pregunta de por qué es importante estar aquí. Creo que el poder estar aquí es una inspiración para mi país, para mí como vicepresidenta, que estamos buscando políticas, implementando acciones de justicia económica, de autonomía económica para las mujeres, de intercambios económicos entre Colombia, Estados Unidos, Colombia, continente africano. Es de gran importancia poder estar aquí y conocer las experiencias y llevarlas a mi país, un país con desigualdades estructurales que sobre todo afectan a la población afrodescendiente. Mi viaje de cómo llegué aquí, llegué en una apuesta de lucha libertaria que no empezó conmigo, que empezó con mis ancestros y ancestras, liberándose de la esclavitud, y que a partir de ahí mi pueblo ha estado sufriendo, pero también ha estado liderando agendas de cambio y de transformación, y simplemente he sido parte de esa lucha colectiva histórica por la defensa de la tierra, por la defensa de la vida, por la garantía de los derechos humanos y por la defensa del medio ambiente.
So thank you very much, Errol. Just to answer your first question, if you allow me, I would first like to thank you very much for the invitation. I'm extremely honored to be part of such an important forum, a place where the Black economic community comes together, and I'm really looking forward to the very important exchanges that will be taking place here. I believe I come here in search for inspiration for my own country, for Colombia, but also for myself as Vice President, as our government is seeking to implement more policies in favor of economic justice, economic empowerment, by building and strengthening ties between the United States and Colombia, between Africa and Colombia, which is why I believe it's so important to be here. I'm really interested in finding out more about the experiences that have been implemented here in the United States to fight against structural inequality which affect our population of African descent. Now, about your second question, how I got to where I am at the moment. Well, I've always been a freedom fighter, but I wasn't the one who started it. Of course, my ancestors, since times of slavery in Colombia back in the day, started that struggle, and I'm just the tip of the sword today, really. And I'm here because I have always fought as part of my community and my collective for a greater freedom, and my struggle is really around the defense of land, of life, of human rights, and of the environment. And this is quite simply the struggle that has taken me all the way to the vice presidency today.
For the viewers or our listeners or those in our audience who are not familiar with Colombia, it is estimated that the official estimate, I believe, is 10% of the population is of African descent. I know that you challenge that number. Describe a little bit of the Pacific coast where this community is centered and the environmental challenges they face.
Bueno, después de Brasil y los Estados Unidos, Colombia es el tercer país con el mayor número de población afrodescendiente en la región. Y aunque las cifras oficiales, sí, porque hay una negación estadística de la población afrodescendiente, dicen que somos casi el 10%, nosotros decimos que somos el 30% de la población del país. Esto sin dudas pone retos y desafíos muy importantes para un gobierno como este, el gobierno del cambio, y es el desafío de transformar las realidades en las que vive la población afrodescendiente, que sin dudas es la más excluida y marginada de todo el país.
So indeed, after Brazil, which comes first, and the United States, which comes second, Colombia is the third country in the Americas with the largest population of African descent. Indeed, most official statistics actually don't show that. And in Colombia, official statistics keep saying that we're only about 10% of the population, but actually we know that this is more like 30%. And this represents a series of challenges in terms of our recognition in official state policies, which have, of course, represented a series of hurdles so that the population of African descent in Colombia can have access to different kinds of services and policies.
One of the areas you are focusing on is bilateral business investments between Colombia and the United States. What is the plan, and how do you propose to foster stronger economic ties?
Estados Unidos siempre ha sido un socio muy importante para Colombia y siempre ha tenido relaciones comerciales. Sin embargo, esas relaciones comerciales no han estado entre los afroamericanos y los afrocolombianos. Estar aquí precisamente es parte de la estrategia y es poder, a partir de este foro económico global, pensar y trabajar juntos en una agenda que nos permita intercambiar entre pueblos. Creo que hay un potencial enorme, ¿sí? La población afrodescendiente no solamente tiene su riqueza cultural, que es un potencial de desarrollo económico, sino que en Colombia la gente lucha por la tierra. Tenemos 6 millones de hectáreas de tierras tituladas a población afrodescendiente. Tierras de las más biodiversas del planeta, tierra con un potencial de desarrollo productivo en términos de alimentos, pero tierras también con una diversidad biológica para el desarrollo del turismo enorme, así que lo que hacemos es invitar a todos estos empresarios y empresarias a conocer a Colombia, a visitar a Colombia y a invertir en nuestro país y sobre todo lo importante que decían en el foro anterior, a invertir en la población afrodescendiente. Sí podemos y por eso estamos aquí.
The United States has been a long-standing partner of Colombia. We've had trade relations for a long time now. However, those trade relations never really took place between African Americans in the United States and people of African descent in Colombia directly. Therefore, I'm here perhaps to push this strategy a little further so that we can perhaps think together and work together so that we can create closer ties for exchange between our communities, between our people. The opportunities are huge. The opportunities in the United States need no description, and those in Colombia are considerable as well. There are 6 million hectares of land that are currently held by collective land titles by communities of African descent in Colombia. Those lands are among the most biodiverse lands on the planet, which represents a huge potential for food production, the use of biodiversity for the creation of natural products, for tourism. So what I am here for is also to invite business leaders from the United States, from the Black community in the United States to come and discover Colombia, but also to invest in the companies that are led by people of African descent in Colombia so that those economic ties can be built directly between both our people.
There's a certain urgency to this because without going deeply into the history, your government is one of the first progressive governments in many years, and there is a background a recent background of violence. And your president, Gustavo Petro, had been a victim of torture. There had been back and forth between the government and the military and so forth. So what's the timeline like as you try to both foster development? You are also the Minister of Equality. You are trying to advance the country in a lot of different directions at once. What is that like?
Bueno, Colombia es un país de muchas oportunidades, un país con mucha riqueza cultural, un país con mucha biodiversidad, pero tenemos, desde mi punto de vista, varios problemas estructurales por resolver. Uno es el conflicto armado, que paradójicamente se expresa mayoritariamente en los territorios habitados por población indígena y afrodescendiente, es decir, sobre los hombros de la población afrodescendiente e indígena está el peso de la violencia armada, de la violencia estructural. Y por otro lado, pues somos también de las sociedades más desiguales e inequitativas. Este gobierno, como usted lo dice, es el primer gobierno progresista, ¿sí? Y que acaba de elegir a un líder progresista como es nuestro presidente Gustavo Petro, pero pues también eligió a la primera mujer afrodescendiente en la historia de nuestro país. Y esto entonces nos pone a asumir una agenda de cambio y de transformación que transforme esas realidades de violencia. Entonces le apostamos a seguir construyendo la paz. Ya se han hecho esfuerzos importantes en ese camino de construcción de paz. Sin embargo, en muchos lugares y en el departamento donde yo crecí, donde me crié, pues la violencia se sigue expresando y seguimos trabajando por transformar la paz. Esto, por supuesto, compromete a los Estados Unidos, porque gran parte de la violencia en nuestro país tiene que ver con el tráfico de la droga. Y entonces nosotros asumimos el peso allá de la política y lucha y combate contra la droga, pero acá también hay que asumir el mismo desafío, porque es acá donde, en Estados Unidos, Europa, donde se consume, digamos, la cocaína que se exporta de nuestro país. Y en ese sentido, eso también compromete a la población afrodescendiente, porque acá en los Estados Unidos a quienes se encarcela es a la gente negra por el consumo de la droga, y allá quienes se expropian de los territorios, se desplazan de los territorios, es a la gente negra, a la gente indígena. Allá hay una agenda de trabajo común que tenemos que hacer como afrodescendientes, tanto en Colombia como acá, porque una misma política de muerte termina afectándonos a las mismas poblaciones. Pero este gobierno también está haciendo esfuerzos de transformación de la inequidad y la desigualdad. Y hemos priorizado la inversión social en esos territorios, donde todavía no hay agua potable, donde todavía los jóvenes no tienen acceso a educación, donde todavía la salud para la población más vulnerable no está. Y ese cambio son políticas que estamos impulsando en el Congreso, son leyes estructurales para superar las desigualdades sociales, pero también es inversión concreta. Y ahora en el panel anterior escuchaba decir que es necesario que la inversión del Estado se haga con la población afrodescendiente. Allá también hay el racismo estructural que establece que la población afrodescendiente no tiene la capacidad, o los empresarios negros no tienen la capacidad de administrar los recursos del Estado. Eso es parte de lo que estamos cambiando a partir de una alianza público, popular y comunitaria que nuestro gobierno está impulsando, porque siempre la administración de los recursos se ha quedado en unos sectores de privilegio económico. Poder que los recursos públicos se administren con las comunidades para la transformación de sus realidades es parte de lo que está impulsando este gobierno.
So, as I said, Colombia is a country of many opportunities, of considerable cultural wealth, of huge biodiversity, but however, we do face very, very important structural problems. The first one is the armed conflict. Most territories affected by the armed conflict in Colombia are populated by either indigenous populations or people of African descent. They are the ones carrying the weight of structural violence in Colombia. Secondly, perhaps what I could say is that Colombia is one of the most unequal countries in the region in terms of wealth distribution. So Colombia recently elected its first progressive leader, progressive president, President Gustavo Petro, the first left-wing president of our country, and elected me alongside him to be the first vice president, women vice president of African descent in the history of Colombia. So we are pushing for a considerable transformation agenda, which of course seeks peace, first of all, which is our main goal. Peace must be achieved. In my home region, peace is currently not a reality. Violence is on the rise. But the same thing applies in other regions of Colombia, and this needs to end. A lot of this violence is directly connected to drug trafficking, as you know. Fighting drug trafficking, therefore, is one of our priorities, but this cannot only be done in Colombia. We must also work on the demand side, along with consumers. And I think it's interesting to note that it's mostly black people in the United States who end up in jail for consuming and using drugs, while in Colombia, the people who are mostly affected by the displacement caused by armed groups that are involved in drug trafficking are people of African descent. So we seem to be the main victims on both sides of the spectrum. And this policy of death needs to end because it is affecting us equally on both sides. Now, how are we trying to change that? Well, social investment in those territories is indeed the answer, so that those places can have access to better health services, education services, drinking water, and of course, we are indeed pushing for greater social investment in those regions. Now, something that I thought was very interesting in the previous panel was that there is an interest to allow community businesses to have a greater stake in state and public procurement. This is something that we are trying to do. Of course, there is the common thought in Colombia that African descent-led businesses cannot appropriately manage public funds, which is why we are pushing for a public-popular partnership that will perhaps take the traditional control of public money out of the hands of the traditionally privileged classes of Colombia so that it can finally come into the hands of communities and community-led businesses.
There are many things. You are a mother who became an activist and now vice president. There are many things you could have done. Why did you decide to pursue a career in public service?
Bueno, decidí hacer esta carrera en el servicio público porque creo en la justicia, porque creo en la solidaridad entre los pueblos, porque tengo una convicción profunda por la paz y por la transformación del racismo estructural. Soy una mujer negra consciente del lugar de donde vengo, del lugar donde nos ha tocado estar y de la necesidad de cambio para las próximas generaciones, para los niños y niñas. Y sé que haber hecho este camino, tal vez no logré transformar todo ahora, pero sé que los niños y niñas van a seguir haciéndolo y por eso tomé esta decisión. En mi país no hay muchas alternativas, ¿sí? Y asumimos la alternativa de luchar en contra de las opresiones, en contra de las inequidades o las desigualdades, o nos hundimos. Y yo he preferido luchar junto a mi pueblo, junto a mi país, y esa lucha, pues decidí tomar este camino, así como ustedes decidieron luchar desde el escenario de la libertad económica para la dignidad de la población negra en los Estados Unidos. Yo decidí luchar desde la política también para la libertad frente a las opresiones que como mujeres y como pueblos negros hemos tenido que vivir.
Well, I chose to run for office because I simply believe in justice, in solidarity between people. I'm a strong defender of peace, and I also wish to dismantle structural racism. I have a very strong awareness of my own origins and also what needs to change so that the next generation can actually live a different life to the one I was exposed to. Now, I may not be able to transform everything myself right now during this 4-year mandate, but I hope that I may become an inspiration for our children to perhaps do the same. I chose to fight against inequality, against injustice, and actually this is really the only alternative that I saw as the one that was possible, because there is no other alternative. Either we do that or we will just sink and die. So in the face of that, I believe that just like many people like you here in this room chose the path of economic empowerment in the United States, well, I chose the path of politics. But after all, our struggles are really similar.
Okay. And in our final minute, where do you see Colombia in the next 10 years? And what can this audience do to help you in that direction?
Creo que mucho. Conocer Colombia, conocer a los afrocolombianos, yo creo que es el primer paso. Ya lo he dicho, tenemos un país maravilloso, un país de gente berraca, decimos, de gente luchadora, de gente que quiere salir adelante. Creo que podemos trabajar juntos en una agenda de desarrollo económico y social, pero es necesario que trabajemos también en una agenda para el avance y la participación política de la población negra en las Américas y en el mundo. Creo que es una gran oportunidad saber que en esta región de las Américas somos más de 200 millones de seres humanos afrodescendientes, que si trabajáramos juntos por una agenda económica y política, podríamos hacer cosas maravillosas. Esa es mi invitación en este espacio. Veo una gran oportunidad de cambio y estamos impulsando para que así sea, porque silenciar los fusiles en mi país es abrir las puertas de la transformación hacia un camino de dignidad y de justicia y de desarrollo económico. Siempre digo, cuando estoy en el Pacífico, que es la región donde vivo, si aquí no hubiera violencia, creo que los estadounidenses, los europeos, todo el mundo quisiera estar ahí, porque es un paisaje maravilloso, la cultura. A propósito, les invito a visitar el Festival de Música Negra Petronio Álvarez, que se realiza en agosto, y es un festival que muestra la identidad, muestra la esencia, muestra la cultura, muestra lo que somos como afrodescendientes y lo que somos como colombianos, así que están muy invitados. 10 años son pocos para una transformación estructural de un sistema de 500 años de opresión. 4 años es mínimo, pero estamos asegurándonos de sembrar las semillas de cambio y de transformación. Y en esas semillas que estamos sembrando estamos distribuyendo la tierra para los campesinos, para los afrodescendientes, para los indígenas. En esa semilla que estamos sembrando estamos haciendo alianzas de programas estratégicos como Ella Exporta a África, porque estamos tejiendo una agenda de reconexión con la tierra madre, con África, con el continente africano, donde las mujeres negras, las mujeres colombianas son protagonistas del cambio de transformación. Llegar al comercio internacional implica trabajar en políticas que flexibilicen, políticas equitativas que permitan comerciar, intercambiar bienes y servicios. Y eso es parte de los obstáculos que hemos encontrado cuando pensamos en cómo poner los productos de las mujeres negras en los Estados Unidos. Ahí hay un trabajo que estamos haciendo como gobierno nacional, pero sembramos semillas también en términos de la reconexión cultural. Y quiero aprovechar este espacio para decirle que el gobierno de Colombia está listo para empezar intercambios culturales entre los afroamericanos y los afrocolombianos. Ahí hay un potencial enorme de desarrollo económico. Nosotros queremos crear un fondo nacional para el impulso de la industria cultural de la gente negra en Colombia, de la gente indígena, y entonces los invitamos a que contribuyan a que ese fondo sea una realidad, porque desde ahí vamos a seguir empoderando económicamente a nuestra gente y vamos a seguir generando condiciones de vida digna para los colombianos y colombianas y por supuesto para los más excluidos. Por último, quiero decir algo. En mi país, pues soy la vicepresidenta y tengo que gobernar para todos los colombianos. Pero siempre me dicen, ¿por qué usted se la pasa hablando tanto de los derechos de la gente negra? Y tengo que responder, me paso hablando tanto de la gente negra porque es la población más excluida de nuestro país y si no lo hago yo como vicepresidenta, nadie lo va a hacer. Así que tenemos una firme convicción en esa agenda de cambio, de transformación, que la hacemos juntos y Si tejemos Colombia, Estados Unidos, los afroamericanos y los colombianos, latinoamericanos, caribeños y África, podemos transformar el mundo. Muchas gracias.
Well, I guess there's actually a lot that we can do together. Of course, I've told you that Colombia is a beautiful country, and Colombia's Afro-descendant community is also a very vibrant one. Our country is a stunningly beautiful place. We are a land of fighters, gente berraca, and we are ready to create partnerships for economic development. And clearly, this is the reason behind my presence here. But I also really wish to insist on the fact that political participation in places of power in the Americas for people of African descent is key. There are over 200 million people of African descent on the American continent. If we work together, we can do great things. Now, of course, I see that this very large community on the continent is a great opportunity for change. There are things that we are trying to do to achieve that, and silencing guns in Colombia is the first one, and this will pave the way for peace, justice, and economic development. And then, as I always say, my region in Colombia, the Pacific coast, if it were free from violence, I can assure you that all Europeans, all Americans, and people from all over the world would be there already, because it truly is a fantastic region which I invite you to visit, and especially during the month of August, on the occasion of the Petronio Alvarez Music Festival, which is Colombia's Pacific Music Festival. It really is a wonderful showcase of our identity, our soul, our culture. It is an unprecedented opportunity to know more about Afro-Colombian culture. Now, 4 years of my mandate is very short, of course, to transform and to turn around 400 years of colonial oppression. But I believe that we're sowing the seeds, especially by redistributing land to indigenous communities and communities of African descent in Colombia. And I think this must be done not only inside Colombia, but also by building ties with the rest of the world, which is why we created a program which is part of our Africa strategy, which is called She Exports to Africa, which seeks to support women-led businesses, especially Afro-descendant women-led businesses in Colombia, to export their goods and services to Africa. And in this program, women of African descent are center stage, and we know that building stronger trade relations in order to further exchange goods and services with the rest of the world will be a fundamental way to push this community forward. And of course, this should be done with the United States as well. So here's the word out for you all. Now, cultural reconnection is also something I would like to mention briefly. Of course, Colombia stands fully ready to reconnect culturally with people of African descent on the continent. And we believe that there should be much more cultural exchange, especially between Colombia and the United States on along those lines, which is why we are currently creating a national fund for culture and the arts, which specifically seeks to support the development of the cultural industries among indigenous populations and people of African descent in Colombia. So I invite you, of course, to join us to support this fund. I invite you to Colombia, where we can jointly not only promote economic empowerment, but just quite simply build dignified living conditions for our population. Now, last, perhaps I, as the Vice President of Colombia, must of course govern for all Colombians, and people keep asking me, why do you just keep talking about blacks and people of African descent all the time? And I just answer, well, they're the most excluded and underserved community in our country, and if I don't do that, no one ever will. Which is why we're pushing for this transformation agenda, and this can definitely not become a reality if we don't work together between America, Colombian people of African descent, Latin America, the Caribbean, and Africa. It is only together that we can transform our world and transform this world. Thank you very much.
Listo, because they are ready. Thank you very, very much. It's a pleasure to be here.